What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quarrying. Got a full day of videos, plus I believe we'll be live streaming this evening, so you'll want to check back on the main channel. Interesting story. Now, Jimmy Kimmel, in my opinion, is one of the worst sniveling, disingenuous Hollywood elites on the planet. He doesn't care about you. He doesn't care about his viewers. He is an expert at shedding crocodile tears while righteously standing and preaching at the plebs. Jimmy Kimmel does not get laughs. He gets applause. There's a distinct difference. Now, the days of bipartisan comedy on late night television are long gone and will never return. But that leaves a great opportunity for YouTubers who are good at it. Not me, of course. I'm not very funny, but others. And I'm hoping that some will take up the mantle. But last night might have been Jimmy Kimmel's most shameful display yet, as he decided to take part in the Hunter Biden redemption tour, allowing him to show up on his show and make light of all the terrible things he's done, and then shill his book. Why? Because he has the right political affiliations, apparently. It's just absolutely heinous. But I guess I wouldn't expect anything less from Jimmy Kimmel. Now, this via the Daily Mail, Jimmy Kimmel blasted for joking about Hunter's love of crack in their lighthearted interview, as they are branded dumb and dumber by social media. Kimmel and Hunter last night laughed about how he used to remove his clothes after enjoying his crack. President Biden's son, 51, appeared with the chat host to promote his new memoir. Oh, another opportunity to profit off your father's political career. Why would you miss that? Viewers were outraged by their tone when talking about his problems with addiction. They also ripped Kimmel for failing to grill Hunter on his role on the board of the Ukrainian gas firm Burisma and the infamous contents of his laptop. Now, a lot of people, if you remember this, Twitter actually went out of the way to censor this story. We now know, a year later, without a doubt, that this laptop was in fact his. Nobody with a actual ability to critically think ever doubted that it was his. But now we have like DNA evidence or whatever to prove it is. Jimmy last night was blasted for joking about Hunter's problems. Well, look, by the way, addiction's no joke. All right. And I've said this on Twitter. There are a lot of things to criticize Joe Biden's kid about. Being on the rock is kind of low-hanging fruit. I mean, I wouldn't expect, had it have been Don Jr., anyone to cut him any breaks, but, you know, you got to be better than that. But some viewers were less impressed by their attitude towards the problems, and more broadly, how the late-night show host failed to grill Hunter on his role in the board of the Ukrainian firm. You know what's worse than Hunter's stupidity is Jimmy Kimmel's stupidity. He's talking to Hunter about Burisma on the laptop as if it were a lie. Dumb and dumber, one user tweeted. Another wrote, Jimmy Kimmel, why are you having a criminal on your show? I have no respect for you or your show. I understand that you are a serious liberal, but there are the guy done something shady. That's their typo, not my misspeaking. And you bring him on, makes you look like an idiot. A third tweeted, watching the media and Democrats try to humanize him as being is something to behold. Hunter was absolutely handling Jimmy last night. The stuff we know about how alone is awful, but what we don't know is likely much worse. Now, you know, I think that, you know, ultimately, again, I would not judge somebody for roasting him about, you know, all the hilarious things on his hard drive. But I have had family members who have dealt with addiction, and I've seen what it does to them, and I've seen redemption arcs. It's rare, but it happens. And I don't think it's something worth making fun of, but I'm not going to judge somebody for doing it because we know that the late night talk show hosts have been would basically not give anybody on the right the same courtesy. You know, I think Jimmy Kimmel is cool, but man, I wish someone serious would have done this interview. Hunter's saying some interesting stuff. Bravo, the late night show comedy, all right. The fact Hunter is on Jimmy Kimmel Live joking and laughing about his laptop shows us how much of a joke everything is, and everyone is out there in make-believe land. Kimmel did touch on topics including Burisma and the laptop, but he never pressed Hunter for an answer and gave any controversy a wide berth, allowing the president's son to steer the conversation back to his book. The laptop became a source of interest during the campaign, not just for the salacious content, including Hunter and his Squirtle videos, but all sorts of other things. You know, and I think he quote, you know, I saw you talking about the laptop in interviews. It became a big thing. And when you're asked about it, you say you don't know, said Kimmel. And that's hard to believe unless you read the book. And I'm surprised you have shoes on. Biden, who writes in great detail about his battles, replied, yeah, I made it today. Pants were the problem. The flippant remark were all more ironic because one of the photos of abandoned laptop shows Hunter standing, well, obviously without them. Obviously, again, you know, another user wrote, does Kimmel ask about Burisma payments, $50,000 a month? The tweet refers to Hunter's salary while working for the Ukrainian gas firm Burisma and get paid $50K a month despite no experience in the energy sector. You know, ultimately, if you're not aware of the situation, you know, people only have so much control over their kids, okay? I'm not going to, you know, I'm not necessarily concerned with, you know, let's say Trump's kid had done something outside of the political sphere. I wouldn't have said that that was okay to hold against Trump either. Now, the difference is with Joe Biden's son, I think there's at least some question about did he use his dad's political position to obtain that job? There were lots of big money deals. There's the famous 10% for the, quote, big guy, whoever that is, and all sorts of other things. Now, was Hunter using his dad for career advancement without his dad's knowledge? Possibly. Did his dad know? Also possibly. These are very important questions that we weren't allowed to ask before the 2020 election. These were important questions for the American people to know whether or not our current president may or may not be compromised. These are fair questions to have asked, but Silicon Valley rallied the wagons, circled the wagons just before the election and refused those questions be asked. Now we have, I get Jimmy Kimmel is not Fox News or CNN, but the fact that he would bring him on and try to humanize him and try to make him seem like everything's okay, it's absolutely absurd. You see here in the National Review, Jimmy Kimmel tries to make corruption funny. The comedian's Thursday night interview with Hunter is, to my eye, the most glaring example yet of growing an insidious trend in the American public life. The blending of important journalistic work, the task of, say, asking the son of the president about his role in what appears to be widespread familial corruption, and the work of a late-night television host. From Hunter's perspective, Kimmel's show was the perfect venue to plug his new memoir, Beautiful Things. And the ever-obedient Kimmel did not disappoint, setting Hunter up with opportunities to explain away his lifelong habit of trading on the Biden name and preempting any potential criticisms with what now passes for amusing one-liners on late-night television. When they ask you if that's your laptop, you say you don't know, which is hard to believe unless you read the book, and then you're kind of like, I'm surprised you have shoes on. Ha 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 ha. Kimmel said, broaching as gently as possible the topic that came to dominate the 2020 presidential campaign, thanks to its grave implications to U.S.-China relations. You know, and he goes, you know, look, I don't really know. And the facts of the matter is, it's a red herring, Biden responded. But it isn't, actually. So rather than take the exceedingly rare opportunity to press Hunter on whether the emails extracted from the laptop of which show the younger Biden bending over backwards to sell his family name to the Chinese energy firm, are authentic, something he's never explicitly denied but never been pressed on, Kimmel let him off with a friendly, "Hey, you got wasted and lost a laptop. That appears to incriminate you in international corruption at the highest level. Who among us?" Who among us? Arguably, the worst part of Kimmel's performance came when he passed over opportunities for genuine comedy because they would have conflicted with his actual goal of fluffing Hunter. Take, for example, his willingness to accept with a straight face that Hunter's claim that his corporate expertise qualified him to sit on the board of Ukrainian oil giant Burisma. "I went to Yale Law School and I served on a dozen boards before Burisma," he said, recounting his service on the board of Amtrak, which he was appointed to at age 36 and served on for 3 years. "I had expertise in corporate governance," he continued. "I was asked to serve on the board for corporate governance. I was a lawyer in Boise, or Boise, I don't know, Schiller and Flexner. So a multi-billion-dollar Ukrainian energy company could find no one more qualified than a 44-year-old American with no discernible energy expertise and well-known personal issues to sit on its board. Now, that selection had nothing to do with Joe Biden's role overseeing Ukrainian policy as vice president. Now, that's funny. Of course, this dude is corrupt. That's for a different conversation. What I'm concerned with, and what American people were concerned with at the time, is, are there any legitimate connections to Joe? And if there weren't, fine. The guy's got his demons and he's done some terrible things. That's a different conversation. But to the extent that, we may be vulnerable to certain documents or information that may have been shared, these are questions that are worth asking. But of course, Jimmy Kimmel was just there to help him sell his book. Hope you enjoyed this video. Screw Jimmy Kimmel. We'll talk to you again real soon.